and just create so much more effective sales teams who can help achieve their quota. So I'm pretty pumped about doing this talk today. I'm really excited about the people on the call who are joining us. I know there's going to be a lot of interesting ideas. Hopefully you can implement in your world or think about in terms of your strategic planning for your sales team and your revenue growth as you move forward. So pretty excited about this.
I love it. And Chad, we see the same thing. I think we're on a cusp of a big change that's happening in sales organizations right now, regardless if you're a B2B sales or B2C sales. I love what you said about technology, kind of integration into their process. This is what we have been seeing over almost the last 4 or 5 years. And I'll be very honest with you, when COVID hit last year, it forced all of us to think differently. And sometimes let go of old style of doing things. So
well, they say never waste a good crisis, right? I mean, COVID was the crisis. It really propelled, I think, a lot of re-looking at processes and why we do what we do, and how do we use these tools to be effective. And the pushback I always see on sales teams is, Chad, I'm a belly to belly salesperson. I need to get in the room. I need to get across the table. That's how I sell. Well, you know what? If you look at the next generation of customers, they're on their smartphone more than ever. And my children have grown up in an era where all they know is that. And so to say that I'm going to do my sales and that's how I'm going to start my sales and that's what I'm going to do, you're going to miss out on the vast majority of buyers. And let's be honest, in the workforce right now, millennials make the biggest group. So you're missing on all these people who may not want to interact that way to start. Now, I think all of us as human beings want to eventually see people and talk to people, but that's not now where we start, right? And if we're going to be a dinosaur in sales and hang on to what I call our fax machines or stuff like that, do you? I have a fax number still. I don't know why, but I don't think I've got a fax in 6 years. But that's old technology and that's old thinking. And I think COVID's really ramped up. I know in our world, we've done a lot of training just around social selling and interaction. And to me, these tools that we're going to talk about today and kind of that whole process is imperative. If you're not on this train, you're going to be really screwed. I love it. Somebody, what's a fax machine? I love that. So, what is a fax machine? It's true, right? If you can make the sound of a fax coming in, because that used to mean money for a salesperson, even better, right? It's almost like talking about the telegraph. But technology is changing, and sales teams. I have clients who I would say do over 100 million in sales who are still debating the value of a CRM, and that blows my mind that that's the case. But it's out there. It's crazy. Anyway, we're after 11 now. We're just I'm on my soapbox, but.
That's awesome. I love the energy, Chad, and I'm really looking forward to this, especially doing this with you. Chad, I know your experience. You've been working with a lot of organizations and kind of coaching and sales training. So definitely, I think this will be kind of viewpoints that are being integrated together, so that then hopefully for all the audience today, we're building an agile sales team that can be prepared for the future.
Yeah.
Because we know that the future might not be the past enhanced; it can be completely different. So I think,
I mean, and we know tech. You just think about how I just think back to when I went to university, and that's like feels like a lifetime ago. But compared to today, and how we can interact, and how we can learn, and how we can get information, and all the things we get, it's radically different. And what will it be 20 years from now? So if you're not changing and you're not taking advantage of the technology that's out there today and applying it to your sales team, oof. You are ripe for either getting beaten by your competitor who is, all right, they are going to come take you. They're going to eat your lunch and you won't even see it coming, and you will shock you. So we don't want to be there. We want to create awareness. That's what today's goal is. So I don't know, Sahir, are we ready to kick off?
Yes, sir, we are. Let's kick it off. Before we start, I just want to again welcome everybody here. We have a lot of people from different organizations, by the way, Chad, just to let you know. We have people from technology, IT, manufacturing, construction, and everybody's coming from a different perspective. So definitely we want to add value there. Chad, the floor is all yours, and let's get going. Before we start, please, team, this is an interactive session. we want you to challenge me and Chad on what we're going to share with you today. This is not death by PowerPoint. Please use the Q&A and the chat panel if you have questions for us. If Chad is presenting, I'll make sure to monitor the Q&A. If I'm presenting, Chad will also kind of monitoring that.
Awesome.
Chad,
well, let's
start.
Let's get to the introductions, right? Let's get our smiling faces on the screen. Who are we? Why do we have any authority in this space? So I own Sandler Training here in Edmonton, Alberta. Sandler is one of the largest training organizations worldwide. I was a client before I bought in, and we've been helping clients for the last 10 years achieve their sales goal. So here, Flawless Inbound, over to you.
Chad, thank you. So I'm part of the Flawless Inbound team. We're a team of 20 people. We actually have operation in Edmonton, Alberta, Vancouver, Ontario, and Atlanta, Georgia. And just as end of day today, we're actually one of our team members actually in Vienna. So we can say we're kind of almost becoming global. We had the privilege of actually working with a lot of organizations in CRM implementation and CRM migration. And actually, I knew Chad from some time now in Edmonton. We are part of the Chamber of Commerce together. And Chad, I think also we connected a couple of times in the Tech Edmonton or Tech Canada as well, if I remember. And I love your style. So we thought, hey, let's do this. Let's figure out how we can help clients together.
All right, let's get into it.
So we just for start, guys, you'd see that me and Chad, I think we work with a lot of organizations, almost with Flawless Inbound, 150 actually projects right now of CRM implementation and CRM migration. So definitely we're looking forward to kind of sharing with you what me and Chad have learned working with organizations like this. If you're a $3 million to a $200 million, that's kind of the sweet spot of organizations that we have worked with, either B2B, B2C, technology, and manufacturing companies. So what I'm going to share with you today, what Chad is going to share with you today, this is almost, we're sharing with you lesson learned, scars on the back, things that we heard from other clients, and hopefully that will be of value to do. From an agenda today, Chad, do you want to take on the agenda and kind of go?
Yeah, so as part of the agenda, obviously we have an hour together. My goal is that you take one key piece of information out of this and have some kind of lesson learned or something that you can go back to your organization and go, are we doing this? Can we do this better? Or pat yourself on the back, you're leading the pack, right? That's our goal. Get one thing out of it. It's a 50-minute webinar. Obviously, you know, the reason we're doing this, neither me or Sahir feeds her family for free, right? The goal with all of this is to provide value to you. And then, of course, at the end of the meeting, really, we're looking to see if anyone on this call wants to interact with us. And we're obviously okay with no, but we will be reaching out to see if you want to have a meeting to just talk about your sales team, whether it's your CRM and your marketing, or whether it's your actual salespeople or your management group. If there's any value that we can help you with and kind of dig a little deeper into your own space. So that's kind of the purpose of today. We're going to talk about, you know, the two concepts of marketing and sales. They're often seen as siloed events, right? But they're not, right? So we want to make sure that we talk to how those things go together. And then, of course, how do you speed step up through that funnel, right? And that's going to be the key part of it.
And just, Chad, while you're doing this, just want to make sure I'm getting some text from the teams. Can you guys hear us correctly? Because it seems there's a little bit of voice maybe chopping from your side. I can hear you. Good, Chad. But for the rest of the audience here, can you guys just write yes? Can you hear Chad? Can you see his video? I just want to make sure. Sounds good. Okay, so it seems everything is okay. Voice is good. Let's continue, Chad.
Okay, good. We want to make sure we're not chopping out. Perfect. All right, let's talk about friction in sales, because that, frankly, is a key problem. So when we look at this slide, when we look at this data, this is really critical to look at. And if you are running and managing a sales team, you need to ask yourself this question. How much time are your salespeople actually spent doing sales activity? In other words, talking with strangers, talking with people who have an interest or an ability to buy your products or services? Or how much time are they doing busy work and, you know, doing research and all the stuff they think adds to this, but really isn't necessarily sales outbound interactive activity? We know at Sandler, 33% is not enough. If you have a major growth goal, 33% is 20% less than you need it to be. And that's a major problem. You got to find more time. Now, the question is, I always hear from sales teams, Chad, we don't have any time. We need time management training. That's the biggest fallacy out there. What you need to do is be evaluating your processes, your tools, and your technology to go, how do we do more in less time? That's the question you need to be asking. The other part, relationships, 60%. I know this is a huge number. I think that's low. I think 80% of people, if you got a telemarketing call, if you got a cold email, how many of you are actually interacting with that and think, I should talk to this person when they say, hey, have I got a deal for you? Or I'm gonna grow your business 10 times. I think we need to be skeptical because relationships by the nature of salespeople are already distrustful because of all the used car salespeople. So hopefully nobody's from the used car industry here, but that's created that feeling of I don't trust you because you're always trying to manipulate me. And we need to nurture the relationships, but that takes time and effort, right? And that's the thing we lose. And we got to figure out how do we use technology, CRM tools, and marketing to help build that story of trust. And I know, Sahir, you're going to dig into that. And then, of course, the last part is learning. Reps are not being coached. This is a fact. Sandler research or research says if you want to hit quota, if you want to hit and blow your quotas away as sales leaders, you need to be coaching 3.5 hours a month with each sales rep. Now, that might blow your mind because you're like, geez, coaching, what do I coach them on? I don't even know what to do. Well, if you have no data and you have no stats and you have nothing to look at, you're right. You got nothing. And you're relying on their words to go, well, geez, what's your problem today? And they go, well, I don't know. Or pricing sucks. That's why I can't close anything. And you go, oh, okay, I need to reduce our pricing. When in reality, they may be talking to the wrong people who have no problems to solve and have no budget to solve it. And guess what? No wonder they can't close. It has nothing to do with that, but you don't got the data and you have no process to help them with that. So this causes friction, right? This is the problem, right? We got people doing all kinds of activity with no results. So let's look at the flywheel because this is a critical piece. So here, talk to the flywheel. What do you see from your perspective when it comes to marketing and all that together?
Chad, I think you're bang on all the statistics and everything you're sharing so far. What we have seen working with clients and just learning from them, that usually there are 3 divisions that should work in sync all the time. Sales team is absolutely the heart and the core of operation. Let's not doubt or dance around with that. The sales rep is the core component of your organization that can bring net new revenue, increase your top line sales. But here is the thing, let's be honest. Sometimes they need a village to do that not by themselves. They need a village to do that. So there need to be a marketing component and a services component aligned to them. So the concept of flywheel, to be honest with you, it's not new. Jim Collins, who wrote Good to Great, he actually wrote a book before that, speaks about the flywheel business model. How can we build a process in the organization where sales, marketing, and services are always in integration, in sync, in collaboration, where your mission as a sales leader to add force, and when I say force here, Chad, by the way, I mean positive force, to be able that they can collaborate together, not negative force. And at the same time, hopefully when I'm doing this as a sales leader, I'm actually reducing friction. Is there anything that I can cut off the sales reps so that they can do what they do best and tell the story? Is there anything that I can do to integrate marketing to sales so that marketing is not a waste of spending of money and they're not pointing fingers to each other? Is there something that I can do in my process where if I'm a sales rep following up on a customer, I need to make sure first, is this customer happy with our services or not? Because I don't want more friction for my sales team. So in general, for the team today, think about the flywheel as a suggested blueprint to have the 3 division in sync and working together.
Yeah, it takes a village to create sales growth. It's never one part of it. And I think the other key parts here that's radically changed is how we market, right? When you talk about lead generation, what does that really look like? And that next slide that you got, I think, really illustrates where the marketing function has gone and because of technology and our ability to understand how buyers' journeys are happening and being able to make really good decisions on activity based on that, you got this new funnel, right? And it's amazing to me. And just share what have you seen out there with this flip funnel approach, and what does it really mean for companies?
So we have been, again, working with an organization for the last 7 years. We have seen that traditional digital marketing doesn't work anymore, Chad. So if you're relying on somebody to write blogs for you, do social media, increase your following on LinkedIn and Twitter and stuff like that, I'll be very transparent and very honest with you. this playbook does not work anymore, especially during COVID, and especially even for complex sales, B2B sales, and bigger sales items. So what we're suggesting is a model called ABM, account-based marketing. Not new for experienced sales leader, Chad, because you have something called account-based selling. So now actually what the marketing playbook is doing is following this new sales process that's called account-based selling. We define it as account-based marketing. What we do is we want to, as a marketeer, I want to help your sales team by focusing on the big 10 or the big 100 must-win accounts. But then the way how I market to them is I just reverse engineer. I slow down to speed up. We understand what's the ideal customer profile, what kind of the key message that they care about, not us, our clients care about. And then as soon as we flip that funnel and build the process that we're going to share with you today, this is now where we can then feed back to the whole flywheel end to end. For the critical
and I think targeted, when I talk about prospecting with teams, right? We get asked, hey, Chad, we need help with prospecting. We need net new clients. And I hear guys saying, I think cold calling is dead, doesn't really work. And I would say, I would say cold calling randomly out of like the old phone book. Yeah, sure, that's dead. Because, if you don't understand the people you're calling, if you don't understand your best fit client, if you don't understand what motivates them to buy, if you don't understand their pain points, and you're not marketing isn't supporting that language, you're done, right? You're going to spend a lot of energy and effort. And so the tools are out there to be the flip funnel. They weren't before. 20 years ago, you couldn't do this. You had to buy radio spots, newspaper ads. That's the only way you got your brand out there. And then everybody invented the internet and going, oh, web pages. Oh, that should do it. Well, and now we got YouTube, we got TikTok, we got all these other things out there, and you need to be hyper focused. And that's how you cut through the noise, right? And you need some tools, right? So if we're going to do all this, what's the tools, right? We look at the must-haves and the nice-to-haves. And in our training, we talk a lot about this. LinkedIn, if you're in B2B sales and you haven't looked at how you leverage LinkedIn, you are missing out. That is a massive gap. CRMs, right? Obviously, we're a HubSpot fans, but there are others out there. If you don't have one and haven't implemented one, or you have implemented one, but you're not getting anything out of it, you need to go back and look at what's missing, because there's gaps. And I know Sahir's going to get into that. Automation. Automation is your friend from a time-saving perspective. Salespeople are overwhelmed by having to send emails, and when do I do it, and how should I do it? The more you automate inside of that, the less thinking they have to do. I call it Steve Jobsing it. Steve Jobs used to wear a black turtleneck and jeans. Why? So he didn't have to think about what to wear, because he wanted to save his mental space for creativity, not what do I wear today. And that's the problem we have with salespeople. Don't get that. You look at the nice to haves, video engine, Zoom info. These are all lead generation, so that you get specific leads to call on. Things like Vidyard, video inside of email. Don't be beige. Oh my God, too many salespeople send emails. And if you ask yourself, how many emails do you get every day? Do you actually look at them? What if you got a video email? So these are all tools. And I know you've helped us here. You've helped companies implement this kind of stuff to have an actual impact and get their messaging out so they get real conversations, right? That's where you're at the top end of the funnel with a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely, Chad. We, again, we're a team of 20 people full-time in Canada and the US. We actually help teams implement tools like this, even if they have a traditional CRM system that maybe doesn't have all those tools. There are ways actually to enable plugins in a traditional CRM to enable video, to enable LinkedIn selling, to use Zoom info and things like that. If you're a client who maybe using traditional Excel sheets and other things like that, we can definitely help you in migration to one of those CRM tools to do that. But back to Chad, to what you're saying, it's very critical to your sales rep need to do what they do best. Tell the story right in the right time. So try as much as you can to automate with those tools. But of course, automation by itself can be a death sentence. You need to personalize while you're doing automation so that it can be meaningful to your prospect as well.
Right. Yeah. Boilerplate stuff that has no connection to the people isn't valuable. Don't get us wrong there. So do an audit on your team, do an audit on do you have these tools? Does your team know how to use these tools? Are they being used inside your company? Do a little self-audit, scale of 1 to 10. 10 would be you guys have all this stuff. 1 would be you've never even heard of some of this stuff. because that might be a gap that you need to close. Now, once you identify the tool, you got to learn how to use the tool, right? So you got to learn how to use that. And there's a process to creating a hyper personalized experience. And I know this slide might be intimidating for some of you, but it's really important that you listen to Sahir, because we kind of got the beginning and the end, but we missed the middle. And there's some really critical things that I think you need to pick up and then ask yourself, are we doing any of this? And if we're not, what should we start with? Because that's where some of these gaps are.
Chad, what we've seen is there's something called the buyer journey. As a VP of sales or a sales leader, you need to get in that too, because that's kind of the new way of how you can enable your sales team, who maybe 60% of your sales force now are actually working from home, or they need to start learning how to do selling through distance. Maybe that will be the future of our sales organizations moving forward. So what we have seen is that all organizations on the planet, they have an awesome website. Maybe they do some ads, some Google engine, write blogs, and they have maybe a sales process that they're doing. What they're missing, Chad, is those 5 pillars. Right. They have an awesome website. They do some SEO. They have a good sales process in place. They have a good sales team. They're trying to do the right thing. And then they get a consultant to do a website, do optimization, and then pointing fingers start. Does the marketing team do the right thing for me? Do I have everything in place? We all know that in the beginning, 60 to 70% of your sales process start even before you or your sales rep know that there's somebody looking for your service.
Yeah.
So now,
So I just want to say what's really critical. You talked about finger pointing, right? How many of you on this call have heard, those, marketing is giving us crappy leads. None of them are ready to buy. They suck, right? I can't believe I'm wasting my time. If that's ever happened inside your organization, you need to pay. Are these other 5 steps happening? And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but really critical.
Yeah, so absolutely. And then, so the first thing you should up is, now, do I have industry pillar pages that actually can address the pain point of my prospect? I'll be very transparent, very blunt, and very honest. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about how awesome you are. Right. I hope everybody agree here on this call. So do we have pillar pages that actually can speak about the pain point of the client? See, I hope that your service is a painkiller, not a vitamin.
Well, and that's the thing. Pain. People make change to solve pain, and they care about their pain, not about you and how great you are. Correct. Pain in selling and pain in marketing, they have to be aligned 100%.
If marketing is speaking about how awesome you are, your sales rep is speaking about pain, here's the first disjoint.
Yep.
Number 2, the prospect will visit your website multiple times. Not one time, multiple times, even before they book a meeting with your sales rep. Do you know how many times they booked? What were they looking at your website? Do they look at your pricing page or not? Were they looking at case studies or not? So this is now where, after we look at the visitor, we need to start doing marketing enablement. The challenge I have seen, Chad, is the marketing enablement tool is not included in the CRM. So now there's a disjoint system. Right. As soon as you get your CRM and marketing enablement in the same system, now at least you, your sales, and your marketing manager are operating from the same playbook. We are reading the same book together. We know where we're going. Then targeting happens. That's why we have an ICP, an ideal customer profile. Self-education happens. We know exactly what they're doing. What webinars are they attending? Are they following up us or not? Then lead qualification happen. And then really your internal sales process happen from here. What usually organizations miss is the 5 red circles, but they have an awesome website and they have a great sales process.
Right. And just a quick story to share, because I am a HubSpot guy. And so we use HubSpot for marketing automation. And we knew that when we send out our e-blast or email newsletter about things that are happening, I knew that I had 49 people who said, they clicked on my page and they read it. They read that email. So all I did, I spent 20 minutes on a Friday afternoon and retargeted them with hey, I'm not sure if you're interested in using the grant. Lots of our clients do to help develop their team in sales training. Guess what? Out of that little 20-minute activity, I got 3 booked meetings with ideal client profiles. That's how it works. That's how you get traction and speed. Because my goal, and I told Sahir this, is to be the laziest salesperson on earth. I do not want to work 80 hours a week. I want to work 20 hours a week, but generate as much income as I do already. And automation helps me do that. But again, if companies don't have that, it's going to be a major problem. And of course, I don't see here if there's anything else you want to add to that slide.
No, I think we're good there.
Here's what happens is we get into this quota problem. Sales teams are missing quota. Your team might be missing quota. The goal, and when you look around you, COVID's been weird. COVID has let some companies exceed quota dramatically, and other companies miss quota dramatically because of events that have happened outside of their control. So the goal, anytime we're measuring, is we want to make sure that we are actually outperforming the market. And if we go to 2019, we see in this stat that the most sales teams don't hit quota. They don't do it. And why, right? Well, if I like to use a kind of an ancient like World War I analogy, right? When we think about the way we used to fight battles, like and we used to have teams of all these, we'd take all these men and we put them and we all try to achieve an objective. And we didn't really train them. Like we just kind of said, well, if we lose some people, we do. But now it's transition, right? So now if we look at how people do battle, they have highly technically trained people who have go in and achieve an objective, right? But they got all the tools and equipment they need to do that so that they don't lose people, right? So we don't have all these mass casualty events. And I look at sales kind of the same way, right? When we look at how do we do more with less? Salespeople by their nature are very expensive, right? And I talk to a lot of sales people, you got wages, you got commission, you got salary, and some companies can't afford, they can't hire 10 more people. It doesn't work, right? They don't have the revenue to do that. And so, but they know they need to do something different and better. And the gap that I'm seeing is technology and sales. They see that as two different things, not two of the same. When we look at sales teams buying CRM tools, a lot of them, unfortunately, have looked at that like, oh, well, that's just a way we keep, you go in there, you put the guy's name, you put their address, you put their phone number, and then you put notes in it. They take a Rolodex that was on their desk or a notepad, and then they put it digital, and they go, why am I not getting my return? What's missing here? Technology should save you time. Time is your most valuable resource in sales. Time to do the right behavior, time to do more outbound behavior with the right people. That's the most valuable resource. You can't make more of it. We have not found out how to time travel. So technology helps you take your team and expand their reach. But if you're not looking at analytics, robotics, AI, automation, if you're not looking at that, you are missing out on leveraging your team. And so we wanted to make sure we gave you one idea and say, here, one thing that a good CRM needs to do, think about how much time your team spends trying to get a meeting, right? How does this work in your world? What do you do with this tool?
And you know what, Chad, you're absolutely right. This is not $1 million investment or a CRM that will cost you $150K to implement. This is very basic tool that should be in any CRM. I know, for example, in HubSpot, you have a tool called the meeting link. This meeting link, you can put it under the signature of your sales rep. It looks at their Office 365 calendar availability or Gmail or other email platforms. And so when your sales rep is sending an email invite out, assuming they're trying to book a discovery meeting, that will be populated automatically with zero programming. They can see the availability of the client. So instead of saving 20 or 30 emails, ping pong emails, knowing, are you available? Can we do it next week? No, maybe the following week. Your prospect can pick the right time that can speak with your sales rep. Not only that, Chad, we can actually program this meeting link because maybe there is technical selling that needs to happen. So maybe you need a pre-sales engineer or a mechanical engineer to be with you in a sales process. You can actually do a group calendar invite. Now, as soon as they click on this link, automatically the HubSpot tool can bridge in a Zoom link, if it's a virtual, or Microsoft Team link, or webinar team link, so we can automate this whole process. That's minimum an hour a day taken off the process of the sales rep.
And we know there's zero value spent. Hey, are you available? And then I got to go talk to my sales, like the engineer. Hey, are you available? No, you're not available. Oh, crap. Now I got to go talk to this guy. Are you available? And think of that. Just think of that process. And every good CRM should have this functionality. So if you're using a CRM tool, go find it. It's in there if you're not doing this. If you don't have one, this alone, I guarantee you, will save your sales reps at least an hour a week in trying to figure out meeting times, which has no value in the sales process. Absolutely none.
Chad, just want to add something else. We know that the sales process sometimes take a long time. It can be a 3 months, 6 months, a year, or it can be a multi-year journey, especially if now you're hunting $1 million contract or more, or maybe you're trying to sell a maintenance contract for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're a SaaS-based organization who have a longer lifetime value. So it's very important as a sales leader working with a tool like HubSpot or a CRM to understand what we define as the buyer journey: awareness, consideration, decision, and purchase power, to be able to make sure that you're automating and personalizing each step of the way. So now instead of having 33% focus from your sales rep, it will be 60 or 70% doing what they do best, telling the story, and then the rest is happening in the back end automatically.
Yeah, understanding your buyer's journey is so critical, especially to developing a sales strategy that mixes sales and marketing. Like I said, they're two of the same cloth. They have slightly different functions. And then on the next slides here, we got some data around that. So when we look at the ability to mix the two groups together and not treat them as silos, most people, again, are in the sometimes, or below category. It's not great, right? They're not really looking at it as a combined thing. And we know that everybody on this call is looking for growth, right? You're looking to develop and get to that next level. And we got to have business development. We got to figure out what that means in our world. And when we look at some of the ways we do that, right? I mean, there's like referrals. So there we see like referrals most effective. 32% of people say referrals are most effective. Okay, great. What's your referral strategy? How are you using technology to help you with that? So what do most salespeople do? Oh, well, if I get one, I get one, right? That's their referral strategy. So number one, they need to be trained on how to ask for a referral. But what if we saw the flywheel at the beginning and we had customer service and we had ways of tracking that kind of data around their engagement with us as an organization and how happy they are about what we're doing. What if we could target people who are ripe for that referral conversation? In other words, they've either given us a great review somewhere, they've done something, said something about us, and we know this because of our technology, and now they can be part of that process. What if we could do that? Cold calls. Well, look at that. That's pretty high. I was shocked. Most effective, 16.7%. Now, we already talked about that. What if we had cold calls or cold emails, and they're more warm than cold because we've understood their journey. We've understood what they've been looking at. We understood what they said, when they looked at our webpage. Where do they spend time? So now when I get on the call, I can ask a better question. I can say, hey, Sally, sometimes when we're talking to people like you, we notice they're struggling with pain point, pain point, pain point. Well, how did I know that one? Because you were on the page and you spent 5 minutes looking at it and you go, whoa, that's unbelievable. And back to my story, my email, when I said, are you looking to use the government grant? A lot of our clients are using it to help do, sales training, Salesforce development. Don't know if you're interested. I got an email back from the owner who said, you must have been reading our mind. No, I knew that you were opening that email. I wasn't reading your mind. Now, you might find that creepy, but that's what technology does for us. So there's tons of ways that we need to do business development. And of course, all of that needs to be wrapped into the playbook, right? How do we play the game? So playbooks are so important. Again, we meet a lot of clients who don't have one. Nobody knows. Well, if we're going to go after government contracts and long, like let's say 1 to 2 year sales process, what's our playbook for that? How do we find the people? Who do we talk to? What's our sales process? What are the steps? What's the marketing material that supports it? What's the case study? That's not laid out. And we expect the salesperson to figure that out. Some of you might be on the other side of the scale. You're in a one call close. You got to find them, talk to them, do something with them in that call and sell them. Right? You might be in a one call close. Who's your ideal fit customer for that? What does that look like? What are the questions I should be asking? Right? Based on their profile, what should I ask? What's the scripting? And guess what? We leave it to salespeople's own devices. And what do you get? A hodgepodge of success, right? Some do it well, some do poorly, but we can't predict and we don't even know. And so we help implement a lot of sales books with companies, but then they put it in a document somewhere and nobody looks at it. Right. So when the person needs it in the moment, they don't got it. And then all the training we do isn't sticky because we teach them how to do, how do we start the meeting? What are the questions we should be asking? What are the pain points we need to grab? All that's really critical. We train people how to do it, and then they forget to do it because the playbook is nowhere to be found. Mm-hmm. So here, how do we build this in?
So Chad, what we have seen is that in, for example, a tool like HubSpot, you can actually program the sales playbook, Chad, that you have been coaching all your clients with. We can take that playbook, digitally program it in the CRM. So if the team can see here my slides, this is actually the inside of a CRM like HubSpot. We come in as a team, we program the playbook with exactly the script. Not only that, this playbook now can be automatically attached to a deal, to a client card in your CRM. Why this is beneficial? Because now as a sales leader, I can know I have 50 sales reps. How many of them are really following my playbook? I don't need to guess this anymore. So then if I'm spending 3.5 hours per sales rep on a monthly basis doing sales coaching, I'm not guessing, I'm not shooting in the dark. I know exactly that, for example, Jean used the playbook 50 times this month, but Max used it only 30 times this month. I can easily, from a HubSpot CRM, run a report on how many are using the playbook or not. I'll be honest with you, sometimes that's a feedback to me to say, maybe I need to change my playbook because my playbook before COVID is different than during COVID, is different than post-COVID.
Right. So playbooks are living documents. They're living. They're meant to be usable and then trackable. Are they effective? Are they not effective? If somebody uses the playbook all the time, their close ratio conversion rate should be at the high end. If it's not, and they're following it, is it a skill issue? They can't effectively tell the story, ask the questions when they're in the moment, or is it a process issue? But at least we can start figuring it out. And a good CRM should have a playbook built into it. Your sales team should live, eat, and breathe inside their CRM. The first thing they open is the CRM. They sit and they spend all day in it because it's going to tell them what to do and how to do it, right? It's going to make them effective and it's going to keep them on track. That's what a good CRM should do. And HubSpot obviously has that in there. Look in your own, make sure it's got it. Because we know that a lot of organizations, they say they got one, but when we look at reality, 72% say they got it. Here's the thing. Most don't have any clue if their team's actually following it. They have no clue. And we need to know that. Otherwise, how do we coach people to be better? And that's a major gap. So in sales, it's one of the few places when we look inside an organization where we kind of let salespeople do it their way. We're always like, well, no, I don't know if you ever heard a salesperson say, well, I kind of got my way and it works for me. Can you imagine if your accounting department said that to you? Well, we kind of have our way of doing accounting and mine's different than Sally. It's just different. Can you imagine what that would look like? Or imagine health and safety. Yeah, we kind of have our way and I have my processes, but why do we do this in sales? Because we think it's a magic box and it's not. Human beings are predictable. I know your mom said you were a snowflake. You were unique and individual and you were special, and you are. But it's why a magic show works, right? We are predictable, right? And we know that when people behave and do certain things, we know where they are in their journey. We understand things more about them and we can execute more effectively. And if we leave salespeople to figure it all out on their own, out of a team of 10, 2 will figure it out. You'll have 2 rock stars, they will get it. Then you'll have this 6 in the middle who sometimes get it, sometimes don't. And then you'll have 2 who never get it because they don't know what to do and how to do it. They don't know when to apply different levers. They don't know when to do certain activities, and they need help. So give them help. So here, how can a CRM help them with that? What do I do? When do I do it? So I'm consistent.
You know what, Chad? We need to break this rule of 80-20, to be honest with you, because it's hurting a lot of organizations, as you exactly are saying. So in any CRM, there need to be a sales task tool. So what I'm showing the audience here today, in a basic CRM, like even HubSpot, you can actually, each sales rep, when they log in the morning, they know exactly the tasks that are due today. Who should I follow up with? Is the follow-up is a phone call, a LinkedIn message, an email, and I can do everything from within the CRM tool, like, for example, HubSpot here. Now, this can be automated too. So when we work with an organization, let's say implement a tool like CRM, like HubSpot, we take exactly what Chad was working with the organization, and we build the sales cadence. We call it a sales cadence in the CRM, and we can automate the cadence so that tomorrow morning when I log in and there was a new prospect came in, automatically the system will remind me to give them a call. The system will remind me to ask them those questions. And even if I need a follow-up, because of course we know a sales process is never linear, then I can put a task on myself, and the task will be an email reminder coming from Microsoft Outlook or Office 365.
Right. And then with that, you can see who's up to date on their tasks, who's actually doing the follow-up, who isn't. And I'm sure in HubSpot, there's a dashboard. If you're a leader that starts flashing red, if somebody is not doing it,
Correct.
right? Because you can't, if you're managing 10, 20, 30 people, it's really cumbersome to try to, hey, Sally, did you do it today? That process, again, hard to do. If you have a dashboard, it's like a pilot, right? If you see that you're in a nose down position, because the altimeter is going crazy. That's an indicator there's a problem. Your CRM should be an indicator of behaviorally that you got a problem, because the behavior shows up as a problem long before the results. So all of a sudden you're going, why are we getting no results over here? Well, that's 2 months after the behavior stopped. You need to fix the behavior. That's where the critical piece is. The other piece that's really important is we call it the care model. If you're managing a territory that has to go and, not only stay, you want to not lose customers, but you want to grow and find new ones. You got to be able to look at your account base and go, what are the behaviors I should be doing here? If I got to keep customer, that's somebody I want to keep. I don't want to lose them, but they're not going to buy anymore, but I want to keep them happy. I want to find some new top 10, top 100 lists. I got to bring them in. I got a database full of people who haven't bought from me maybe for the last 3 years. Where'd they go? Why did I lose them? How can I get them back? And then, of course, there's people I'm working with who only buy one thing and they could buy 4, right? And so looking at your database to be able to segment out and do the right things and help you do it effectively needs to be built into any good CRM. So let's just talk about the keep side. So here, if I want to keep a client, I want to keep them around for a long time. I want to use it to generate referrals and all that. What can I do? How could a CRM work?
So the first thing, of course, we can segment your client in the CRM. So we have list segmentation that's so easy to do in HubSpot. We can segment it to say that's an existing customer versus a prospect. We can even segment them per industry or per product that we want to sell to. From there, we have seen that how we nurture that content. But the problem is, I cannot rely on the sales rep to write content or even generate content, because that's not fair. Let them do what they do best, telling the story. And the content cannot be the old style of content, which is just blogging. The new content now is a mix of things. So think about a hive around a specific topic that will challenge your prospect to think differently so that they come back to your organization. So Chad, look at what me and you are doing today. We are hosting a webinar. From that webinar, there will be a podcast, videos, follow-up, reports, and blogs. What we have seen, this sample of clients we worked with before, if you're a manufacturing, technology companies, we built something called a video wall. The video wall is having content specific for 1-2 minutes that your sales rep can simply refer to in their email going out. Or you can have specific video walls in your CRM that can be published on YouTube or published on your website. So video should be your new friend, and you need to figure it out. And by the way, again, this is not an expensive tool. It's a very cost-effective tool that can be added to your CRM. We're not asking your sales rep to be in front of cameras. This can be very generic videos, very authentic, that can actually tell the story better.
Yeah, and just speaking about video, everybody's got a smartphone these days. We all can put it on and do a quick little video. It is not hard, but you got to be committed to the process. It's just another way of talking to your clients. And if you're on video and you're on YouTube, you're doing it. Your clients and prospects are too. And by giving them this content, you're reinforcing the relationship. So attaining, right? Attaining is, what's my top 10, top 100 list of clients or prospects I would like in a space, whether that's geographic, maybe a channel, right? I want to go after specific people. What's the cadence? How do I interact? And we know that big companies, like if you're going to chase a whale, you're going to chase a massive company like CN Rail, they're huge. Doing a cold call is likely not going to be very effective. You won't get that business. So you need an actual cadence and prospecting plan that leverages multiple things to get in the door, to get you noticed, to get that conversation started. And a lot of salespeople lack the strategy to do it. They try one way, they do it one time, and then they give up. They're like, well, that didn't work. So what's our alternatives to here?
What we've seen, Chad, is that you need at least 12 to 16 touch points. Not only that, you need to apply this for different persona in the same organization. We call it multi-swim lane. And the way to do that inside of HubSpot, we can build workflows and we can build parallel workflows where the sales rep, without doing anything, he can apply this workflow to those different decision makers within an organization. You can time the email to go out maybe on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis. It doesn't need to be a traditional email. It can be a video message for 1 minute that will invite them to a workshop or a webinar. And so really the sales rep at the end of the day, they're not the one writing the email. They don't even need to remember when was the last time I spoke to that prospect. When should I follow up? This machine can automate the whole thing. Any CRM should be able to do that. I'm just showing the team here a sample of doing it in the HubSpot CRM. If your CRM doesn't do that, we can come in and plug in the HubSpot as a tool on top of your CRM to be able to do that as well. Here's another sample where maybe
workflows. I just got to say, workflows are your friend. Workflows, if you can, so then again, I don't have to think as a salesperson, what is my next step? What do I send them? What has to go out? How do I engage? That takes emotional energy. And unless you have a rock star, they'll do it. But 60, 70% of your sales team cannot do this effectively and consistently. So your CRM should do workflow. If you can't, you got to find a way to do it.
Awesome. Chad, the other thing is we've seen is sometimes you need to relate case studies and relate to build video case studies. I'm not asking you to hire a videographer to do this. This is very basic. We use a tool called Vidyard. It's natively integrated with HubSpot CRM. If you even don't have HubSpot CRM, you can get this Vidyard tool and we can implement it for you. It's very easy to implement. We can digitize all your case studies. They can be video enabled. We attach it to the workflow you guys have seen in the previous slide, and that can be sent to your prospect as well. So imagine now all your case studies, your sales rep doesn't even need to explain or waste time. They will be video enabled and shared with your prospects.
And then of course, if somebody interacts with that email through your CRM, like a HubSpot, you'll know it. You'll know they watched it. You'll know how much time. So now again, you can go back and prioritize the leads, right? You can say, oh, Sally's interacted with that 15 times. Bill has done it 0. Who should I call? Well, you're calling Sally, right? Because obviously that's way more engagement. And you can see that's what you're going to get here. You can know you're going to be able to prioritize your time based on the data.
Actually, this was a client, national in Canada. They have group of sales rep in each region. We were able to measure per region were their video effective, what's the open rating and click-through rate in each and every region. And they were able to kind of quadruple their opportunity in their pipeline just by enabling video in their sales process.
100%. We talked about recapture, right? I got to go find you. I lost you. You haven't bought anything from me. Maybe because I didn't have something before and you want it now. I didn't have it 2 years ago, but I got it now, right? A product or a service. Sometimes that's why people left. Sometimes they left because someone else did a good job of taking the business. And maybe they're not happy. Maybe they think, they're okay and they're open for change again. So, again, how do we recapture lost clients? What tools do we have?
So Chad, think about McDonald's, right? You have a drive-through. So in the drive-through, really, think about kind of a McDonald's person. The client is already kind of checking them out. They're doing a drive-through, a quick order, just to test them before they get the big order, if you think about it this way. Yeah. So the good news is that actually you can do a drive-through in our organization. We call it a drive-through in digital marketing. So you can actually start building landing pages, a sample of a landing page here. You can ask the prospect specific detailed question, and that is actually called a pre-qualification question. You're filtering them. Are they the right client for my organization or not? So instead of having your sales rep waste their time on that, how about you do a drive-through in your digital marketing to do that? So we can easily build landing pages in the HubSpot CRM, because again, the HubSpot CRM is marketing and sales and a video engine. And we can then plug it to your website, and we can now recapture the lead by asking them more questions. Not only that, if you guys can see here, if they click here, this is a chatbot, and the chatbot can ask them very basic question to qualify them better, and we can do newsletters to tell them what's happening in our products and services.
Yeah, and again, it gets back to the buyer's journey, right? Where are they at? Is it the right time to engage? And by letting your sales team know when and how people have interacted, their time spent engaging and using their sales skills are going to be far more effective, because they've already got somebody who has identified a problem, identified in something they want to change. And now when I engage with them, they're way more likely to go, tell me more. I want to find out how this could help me. Let's get into this funnel, right? Let's get into the top of our sales funnel and start that first discovery meeting. And that's the gap. Got a lot of sales teams, they struggle to get people into the top of the funnel, or they book meetings with people who really they're not ready to buy. They're not ready to book that meeting. And so as a sales leader, you're thinking, geez, we're great. We got the stuff happening at the top end, but we're wasting time doing demos on people who are never going to change, never have any real money to do it. We're dealing with the wrong person. And then you wonder why your funnel isn't predictable. It's because we don't understand where they're at. We don't understand who's engaging with us. So it's a big gap.
And this is actually, Chad, what we are advising sales rep to do. You can, with a simple text or a video message that's 1 minute, this is much actually more impressive than a text. This is a scenario where we're using some sales processes, using the video engine. You can send one video message, less than a minute, being authentic to speak about your products and service through a LinkedIn platform or through an email. Of course, this is not a big video that you attach to an email. The video is hosted on another server, of course, right? And then you send this video message in. You can, in the video, say, click here to book a meeting with me. So there can be a call to action seated in the video to do that. Very easy to do. You don't need a developer. You don't need a videographer. And you can apply this in less than 30 days for all your sales organization using HubSpot and video to do that. Those are samples, by the way, of how you're able to help other team members do that in their sales organization.
And I would say a game changer. We've taught our clients how to use these videos, and I can tell you I've had multiple stories from our clients who said the only reason that decision maker actually responded was because of the video. So a lot of people have video fright. They don't want to be on. Again, a lot of fear. But here's the thing: don't be beige. I always tell sales teams, don't be beige. What does that mean? They paint hotel walls beige so they're not offensive. Nobody cares about beige. They're like, it's beige, whatever. It doesn't create an emotional response. But when you want to engage a stranger, you need an emotional response. You need them to go, that's different. That's memorable. Nobody's ever done that before. You need to get their attention. And video is so easy to do with the smartphones we all have in our pockets, that you can stand out in a way that engages clients to give you that first meeting. And now your sales team skills come into play. How do they run the meeting? Do they have a process? What questions do they ask? Do they understand the next step in our sales process? Do they get all that so that you can progress them down your sales funnel? This is the latest, especially COVID, when sales teams are trapped in their basements. Huge.
Chad, can I add one thing here? We notice with a lot of sales reps, sometimes they shy away from video, right? There is a technique we have been applying for a lot of B2B organizations, especially over the last 6 months. If you guys look at the below pictures here, you see the sales rep is actually sharing what's on the website or speaking about case study. So that it's a video, they can minimize their video or they can shut it down completely. So they're hearing the audio of the sales rep, but the video now is really showing them or explaining a case study, or for technology companies, showing them live their data center, or if for a manufacturing production line, they're doing a walkthrough, or for a construction facility. You don't need to show your own video, like your face in the video, but you can actually be sharing your desktop and attaching this again in the video engine inside the HubSpot CRM. So there's a lot of ways around that.
Lots of good things there. Of course, expanding, right? We talked about McDonald's. They said their sales went up when they taught their people at the window to say, do you want fries with that? Right? We have a lot of clients who don't know what we do. They don't know the other products and services we sell. Our sales team sometimes forgets to talk about it, and they go buy from our competitor. Talk about frustrating, right? One of the biggest ways you grow sales is sell more to the people who already buy from you, right? But you got to be able to tell that story and support it. And so inside of a tool like HubSpot, there's a couple of options there, right? Like the chat bot.
So for example, the chat bot is kind of another way of, hey, if they came back to the website, if they came back to you, and maybe you're busy, your sales rep is busy doing other things, we can program the chat bot with a workflow to say, if the existing customer came back to the website, by the way, the HubSpot chat bot will know about that. You know why? Because there is a cookie on their browser. The chat bot is not another tool. It's included in the CRM of HubSpot. So you can go and query first name, last name with, is that an existing customer or not? If it's an existing customer, we can build a script in the chatbot. Say, by the way, hello back, client ABC. Listen, I hope you're happy with our service. Did you know that we also can add that? Now, and here's an article to speak about it. If the prospect click on that, the chatbot can escalate internally to your real sales rep, and it can go to a live chat where then the sales rep can continue the conversation. This is happening either in B2B or B2C. Organizations right now. And millennials, they absolutely are engaging with chatbots, and they're kind of doing more with them versus a live sales rep as well, for sure.
Of course, the other part is templating, right? You save time by not having to retype things out. You can, any good CRM is going to have a templating feature then to send information out in a templated format. So I don't need to remember that, because we need to, like you said, we need to add force, positive force, and reduce the friction inside that funnel. Pretty critical that we're going to get momentum, right? Get that flywheel going, because it gets back to the enablement, the alignment, and the transform, right? We need to enable the team to spend more time physically talking to strangers and people who are open to buying. We need to make sure we're talking to our best fit clients, because they're more likely to have problems we can solve. And then, of course, you as sales leaders who are on this webinar have the data at your fingertips to coach and develop your team. That is the number one sales leadership activity that makes a difference. But if you're not supporting them with data and knowledge, and you're just doing the old, well, go sell more, that doesn't work anymore. So I don't see here if you have anything to add on the EAT framework.
I think the main thing is, what we're trying to do is enable you as a sales leader to actually do that efficiently. And so you really need, beside a process, a tool, a platform in place that actually can help you in an agile way to coach and manage behavior much better, so that they can be ahead of the curve and hopefully make your number this year, or maybe over exceed your number for fiscal 2021 and beyond.
And consistently do it and predictably do it. So what's our call to action, right? Well, that we couldn't do this thing without we always believe we never take a think it over. Everything we do is about getting a decision. A no is a perfectly good decision. If you have heard nothing today that added any value, my apologies. It's been an hour out of your life that you won't get back. But if you got something out of it, great. We'd love to hear back what that was. If you're not using a CRM, you need to consider it as a strategy. You have to consider that. If you're not using video in your sales process, you got to consider that. If you haven't ever thought about automation or how to use automation to save time for your sales team, you need to go look at what tools you have available to do that. And lastly, if you're not coaching the team to the data, it's a crapshoot, right? Hopefully you have some rock stars. So we've run out of time today. I know we had said we'd give some time. If you do want to connect with us, by the way, there's our email addresses, phone numbers. Alternatively, we will be reaching out and asking those of you who participated on the call if you want to be open to a 90-minute interaction where we just dig into either your sales processes, your automation, or your skills and your coaching skills, those gaps. That's what we do. At the end of it, if there's no value, there's no value. We just move on. And at this point, if anyone has any questions or anything in the chat box or Q&A, we can answer it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chad, and thank you, team. Again, I'm monitoring the chat here. I think we almost covered some. There was some questions coming in. I think we covered all of it in the Q&A. Again, if there's any questions, we still have 2 minutes here. If there's any questions, please feel free. We're still staying here for a couple of minutes. Chad, thank you so much. I always learn a lot from you when you're presenting and speaking. 2 things I took personally from you. The first thing is, as a sales leader, 3.5 hours for sales coaching for each sales rep. That was an aha moment personally for me. I'll be very honest. And of course, the other thing is automation, CRM, It's not a complex, gigantic, expensive project. Even if you have a legacy CRM, but you want to enable it, we can help, because you can get a small license of HubSpot to apply to your existing CRM or maybe migrate, and we definitely can help with that.
Yeah, the first thing is start, right? Don't, when you don't start anything, nothing changes. So, start. Look, like you said, I got into HubSpot on a free license. I started because I had 4 false starts on CRMs prior to using HubSpot. Didn't use them. They didn't have the workflow. There's a lot of issues. And now that I've used it, I couldn't imagine never not using it. It's like saying don't have a cell phone. What do you mean? I need a cell phone. Like I need a CRM that helps me do more things effectively. So there's a lot of strategy around buying and developing a CRM, especially I know with larger companies, they're worrying about integration.
Right.
There are those issues that I don't have, but again, there are things that I know Flawless has done a lot of.
Awesome. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, team. Really appreciate all your time today. We'll be following up. If you have more questions, you now have Chad's email and you have my email as well. More than happy to help you guys. If
we got a question here. We got a question here from Eric.
How can ABM complement CRM? This is actually a great question. So ABM is account-based marketing. It's a playbook to open new markets. Now, we're hoping that you have a CRM that have ABM tools. Traditional CRM, we notice they don't have an ABM tool. So what is an ABM tool in a CRM? You want to make sure that when you're creating a company and a contact in a CRM, you're combining them into one company. We want to make sure that you can run multiple workflows in parallel, and your lead scoring, you're adding a score on the company level, not on the contact level. So the difference between traditional marketing and ABM marketing, that you're lead scoring the company holistically versus lead scoring an individual decision maker or a persona. That's number one. Number two, the campaigns and the landing pages are specific to that organization, not a shoot in the dark for traditional inbound marketing. So those, in my mind, are the 2 critical components that if you want to apply ABM, account-based marketing, in a CRM solution, those should be critical. Chad, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's your world, Sahir. I'm going to let you answer that one, because we do all the skill stuff around once you get the conversation, but the automation is definitely your world.
Awesome. Great. Chad,
right.
I think we're good here. Thank you, team. Thank you, Chad. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Bye for now, everybody.